his power level is rising. This one might prove to be more of a challenge than I thought.
What's up, y'all? It's everybody's favorite Unk, and today we're taking a look at the Tamashii Nations, SH Figuarts, Turles, or Tulece, Tulece, whatever you want to call it, however you pronounce the Japanese pronunciation that's on the box. That is what we're looking at, and I'll tell you guys right off the bat, I am super excited to get my hands on this guy and see what he's all about. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you're a little bit like me and you have a huge nostalgia bone for anything Dragon Ball Z, as do I, and especially for Saiyan armor. Any character in Saiyan armor is most of the time going to be an automatic cop for me. And I actually went back and watched the Tree of Might movie that Turles is from. I hadn't seen that movie probably since I was like 10 or 11 years old, so it's been a long time. And I honestly forgot how bad that movie was. It's probably one of the worst Dragon Ball Z movies ever made. But regardless, Turles is just such a cool character design. Like I said, any character in Saiyan armor I'm a sucker for. He's that prototypical Saiyan that's pissed off that Kakarot didn't do his job destroying the earth, and he's come to clean up his mess. I want to propose a question to everybody watching today, all 5 of you watching this video. What is your favorite Dragon Ball Z movie? For me, it's definitely going to be the Father of Goku movie, the first Bardock movie, or the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. I really enjoyed that movie as well. So yeah, leave that in the comments. Let me know what's your favorite Dragon Ball Z movie of all time. It could be Dragon Ball Super, GT, whatever you want, of all time. Now, if you weren't aware, this release was a P Bandai exclusive, which brings up an interesting conversation. What do you guys think about P Bandai exclusives? I think that they should make all movie characters P Bandai exclusives, and any mainline characters should just be regular retail. So movie characters meaning like, you know, all the Brolys, that's fine. You know, like a BoJack Trunks if they make it, like a future Gohan, you know, whenever they release a Janemba. I'm fine with those releases being P Bandai exclusives because they are not mainline quote-unquote canon characters. I guess they are canonizing Broly now. But yeah, I'm fine with that. I feel like any release that is a normal character, like any Frieza, you know, any Vegeta, Trunks, any Z Warrior, you know, those characters should be general releases. That being said, when he first dropped on P Bandai's website, he was $70 for a pre-order. Of course, if you didn't get him on P Bandai's website, you got him through Big Bad Toy Store or somewhere else, you were probably going to shell out about 119 bucks. Right now, the secondhand market for this guy is looking a little weird. I'm seeing him marked anywhere from $115 all the way up to $200. I got mine for kind of right in that juicy sweet spot, right at $130. When I got mine, the lowest they were going for was about $125 or $130. I'm going to tell you guys off bat, don't spend any more than about 130 bucks on this guy. The price on this guy has been going down like Nancy Reagan at a cocktail party in the Reagan era. So I would wait a little bit, and you'll probably see why once we get deeper into the review. But with that said, let's get this guy out the box. Alright, now looking at the box, it's your typical Tamashii Nations packaging. You've got that nice window packaging on the front. You've got the SH Figuarts logo and Tulece right under it. You've also got a render of the character of the toy on the right-hand side of the box. He turned to the side. You've got a few action shots of him. On the back, of course, you have some poses of him as well. You got him eating the fruit. You've got him shooting his little blast. You got all your jargon down there at the bottom. Not too much on the other side of the box. On the bottom, you got a nice picture of him beside his name. And on the top, there's a little glamour shot of him as well. So normal boxing for Tamashii Nations. Alrighty guys, now right out of the box, I had some issues with this guy, as you can see in the video. His arm, his left arm in particular, the one that's under the cape that he comes in, fell right off out of the box. Not too big of an issue because you could just snap it back in. It took me a little while to mess around with him to make sure that his arms, both arms, were secure, but I did get it snapped back in eventually after posing him around a little bit. It's just really annoying to have that come right out of the box like that. And I will say, because of those crossed arm accessories that you get with this character, the pegs that peg into his normal arms, I just feel like the fit is a little bit off and they just get a little loose, and when you pose them around, it's a little annoying. So that's one thing I didn't like right off bat. But I will say, when it comes to aesthetic with this guy right out of the box, the likeness on the face is wonderful. This looks exactly like Turles. Tamashii Nations has been getting better and better at detailing these face sculpts. And I'll tell you, you can tell that they've got the fire lit under their ass by those third-party companies, because man, they have really been improving their face sculpts ever since that Dragon Ball superhero series. One thing that you will notice right away, or I noticed at least, is that the joints are a different color than the skin, which is a big no-no for me. And here's the thing. They could have nullified that issue by putting shading on this figure. Like, seriously, man, that's my biggest gripe, is there's no shading on this figure, man. And in the source material, he is kind of more of a Native American-ish, like, you know, a golden bronze skin complexion, which I guess they got it fairly accurate here. But every single scene you see of Turles in the Tree of Might, he is shaded heavily in every single scene. So I just don't understand why they couldn't put some shading on the skin. I do think that the renders that were out of this guy didn't have any shading on them, but still, like, this is the type of character that you need shading on. I believe it is mandatory on this type of release. They did not give us shading on the skin, and it really, really hurt this figure. So the skin tone is close enough, but I feel like it could have been a little bit lighter, and they should have shaded it, and it would have looked a little bit more accurate. And that goes for the armor as well. Now, if you look at the armor is painted, or the padding on the armor is painted, of course. It's painted pretty well, and the padding on his wrist gauntlets is painted as well, too. My issue with that is, again, no shading. I feel like it's a tad dark. If you look at all of the source material of Turles, literally the entire Tree of Might movie, I don't know if he appears in the manga or not, but in the entire Tree of Might movie, he's got that kind of dark shade of purple on his padding, and this looks more like a navy blue. And I just feel like, man, they could have gave us that purple color and gave us some shading. There is not enough paint on this figure at all. But other than that, the armor color is fine, I guess. It's passable. If you're not gonna put shading on it, I guess err on the side of it being a little bit darker. But yeah, man, just really disappointed that there's no shading on this guy at all. Other than that, I'll say sculpt-wise, you know, he's not bad. I feel like he could have benefited from being a little bulkier, especially if he's going to be eating the fruit from the Tree of Might, you know? He's a little small, he's a little compact. I'm getting kind of like Wolverine vibes from his body size. I feel like he needs to be a little bit bigger, but the sculpt looks good. The musculature in the thighs look great. You know, he just looks like a menacing Saiyan, which is what you want. So I'll give them a thumbs up on the sculpt. The paint job could have been a lot better. The paint job is done well, don't get me wrong, but it needed shading, man. This character just needed shading, and he's a movie character, you know what I mean? Like, he's always in a dark space for the most part. Like, he just needed shading, and they just missed the mark on that one, in my opinion. Now, getting into accessories, you get a pretty good spread of accessories with this guy, which is awesome. You get the folded arms, which are done very, very well, and they actually sit pretty well on the character as well. The only issue that I had with mine was kind of getting them into position so that you can pull those shoulder pads down and there's no seam showing, but they work well enough. You get 3 faces. You get one eating with the tongue out, ready to take a bite out of the fruit. You get a teeth gritted face, and you also get a mouth open, yelling or powering up face as well, and all the faces are sculpted very well, as I mentioned before. You get a blast effect, and man, the blast effect is awesome. The paint is so good on this blast effect, and that begs the question, why is there no shading on the actual figure? If you look at the blast effect, if you look at the little electricity or whatever you want to call it coming out of the middle of the blast effect, has a nice gradient effect from that clear plastic, that translucent plastic, all the way down to a nice metallic silver finish. And that looks really, really cool, man. The metallic finish on the paint on the blast effect is so cool. They could have gave us a little bit more paint on the figure, and that would have been great, but the paint on the blast effect is awesome. And then the hands are kind of weird. You get 3 sets of hands. You get 2 sets of blast hands. You get 1 set with holes in them, 1 without, and you get a set of grabbing hands and an extra grabbing hand with the fruit attached. Kind of a weird choice. I feel like they could have just gave us 1 set of blast hands with holes in them. I don't think too many people that collect this line care about having holes in the hands of the figure. You can't really see it that well. Maybe for action figure photography, it might be a little weird. But man, I feel like if they gave us just 1 set of hands that had those holes in them, that would have been fine. And they could have used the money that they used to sculpt that other set of hands to put some shading on this figure. Yeah, just an idea. But yeah, the fruit is painted really well on the hand holding the fruit. I just wish that the fruit had some shading as well, like a little bit of a black wash or something like that. You also get a cape if you count that, and you do get the little plastic piece to peg his blast effect into his hand. Now, getting into articulation, we got some really interesting stuff going on here. So the head goes down really, really well. The head looks down really good. It goes up, okay, you've got that Goku hairstyle, so it's not gonna go up too much. He's got a double ball peg, which is actually done pretty well on this figure. You get some good tilt, some good attitude for those dynamic poses, and you can also spin his head a full 360, so I really like the way the head is engineered on this. That is good. The shoulders have butterfly joints that are okay. They're still pretty useless. They're okay, but I will say something really interesting about the shoulder pads. I like the way that they engineered the shoulder pads because in comparison to like the Captain Ginyu, for example, from last year, those shoulder pad pieces would just fall off so easily. He's so annoying to pose because of that, even though he's a great figure. And this guy has a little like hinged peg that pegs into his shoulder pads, and dude, it just works so well. It makes it so that these don't fall off when you're posing it around. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but I like this design choice. I hope they move forward with this with all of their Saiyan armored characters, because this right here is a win for me. The little hinged peg that they've got with the shoulder pads. Your arms do go up 90 degrees. You have a bicep swivel, which is customary, a bicep swivel, which is customary. You get a nice double jointed elbow. That gauntlet's probably going to get in the way a little bit, but it does get good range on that. The wrists are fine. They're that typical Tamashii engineering with the ball peg, but I just feel like you could use some different engineering for characters like this that have those thick gauntlets that don't let you really get that much range out of the wrist. It doesn't matter too much because, you know, this character doesn't hold weapons or anything, so you don't need to do any crazy poses with his wrist, but it would just make for more playability with these figures. I think it's about time to revisit that for Tamashii Nations. Now, the diaphragm on this thing is really weird. The torso is really weird. It barely crunches at all. It barely crunches back and forth. It has a waist swivel, like it has a waist swivel, and I think it can go 360 if you kind of force it. But I was kind of scared to force it all the way around because this figure just feels like very, I don't want to say fragile, but there's a lot of squeaking and all that good stuff going on. You might want to heat it up, use some silicone oil or something like that. But yeah, you can get a waist swivel, but it doesn't really go 360, I don't believe. And it just seems really over-engineered. Like it seems really over-complicated in this torso area. I feel like they could have just kept it simple and got a lot more range out of it. I feel like they were going for something very ambitious, but they kind of fell short, and it's pretty bad. Like, it's terrible. Like, you can't get any ab crunch at all. No ab crunch at all.
This is not good.
Now the legs. The legs are on that 3.0 mold, which is awesome. They do go all the way out and do the full splits. Love that. You do get a thigh swivel with it as well. You get a double jointed knee, which is customary. I did not kick forward and back in the video, but he cannot kick forward that far. He kicks forward about as much as that Dragon Ball Superheroes Vegeta, which is really disappointing, especially because he doesn't have any ab crunch, so those high kicks are kind of a non-factor. And you know his leg doesn't go back, of course, because of that butt is in the way on that 3.0 sculpt. The ankles, the ankles are terrible, and I don't understand why the ankles are so bad, because we have that Nappa as an example that came out a few years back that had one of the best ankle rockers of all time of any SH Figuarts Dragon Ball Z figure. This ankle rocker is okay, but it doesn't go up and down at all. It doesn't really hinder him from standing in many poses. I put him in a whole lot of poses and it didn't really hinder him, but I feel like you could get him into more poses if you had more range on that ankle. There's no excuse for that ankle to be complete boo-boo, just complete garbage, complete trash. You do also get a toe hinge, which it's a toe hinge. It doesn't seem like it's going to be very effective on this figure. You know I love toe hinges, but you're also not going to be posing Turles in many poses that need to have toe hinges. All right, y'all. Now for some size comparisons. We got him here against the Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku, the Dragon Ball Superhero Piccolo, and the 3.0 bodied Krillin. Now I will say, man, the scale seems a little bit off to me. I feel like he's supposed to be a little bit more bulkier and menacing. I think he's supposed to be taller than Goku for sure if you look at the movie. Like, he definitely was bigger than Goku, which a little strange that they made this choice. I feel like if they had made him at least as big as Nappa, then that would have been okay. Maybe a little bit smaller than Nappa. I think that would have been right. But yeah, he's a little off to me when compared to these guys. And now we have him up against the SH Figuarts Imperfect Cell, the Dragon Stars Broly, and the Imposter Goku Black. This is the original Goku Black Turles. And yeah, man, again, you know, he's just a tidbit small for me, but this is how he's going to look with some of your other SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figures. And here we have him paired up against some other lines. You've got the WWE Elite Defining Moments Undertaker. We've got the RX-78 Gundam Universe Gundam. And we've also got the Jujutsu Kaisen Fushiguro. And for one more size comparison against other lines, we've got him against the Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man by Marvel Legends and the G.I. Joe Classified Series Rakondo. All right, now final thoughts on this guy. Man, This is like the definition of a mixed bag, man. This figure is the definition of a mixed bag. Like I said, I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z nostalgia freak. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you are as well. So for me, this was a mandatory purchase. Like, I just love this character design. Had so much fun playing with them in Xenoverse. And this is just my childhood right here, right? Like, this was probably the second Dragon Ball Z movie I saw after the Garlic Jr. one. And man, this was my childhood and I wanted this figure really bad, and I'm still happy I made the decision to pick it up. But I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of problems with this figure. The biggest issue to me is that there's no shading. Where is the paint?
This is not good.
I mean, it has paint, but it needs shading, like dry brushing or something. Like, it just feels so uninspired and lazy because of that. And especially when you see this character in the movie, he is always in the shadows. So that's just a big bummer. They missed the mark hard on that one without putting any shading on this thing. The articulation, the head and the shoulders are great. I like the way they engineered the shoulder pads. That's really inspiring. I hope that they do more with that as far as it goes for their Saiyan armored characters. The 3.0 legs work, but these ones don't kick forward that much, and it wouldn't be that much of an issue if he had a better ab crunch. I feel like there was some very ambitious engineering on this figure, but they fell short, and that's really disappointing because they had a chance to hit a big home run with this figure. Some weird QC on the arms and how they kind of pop off pretty easily. I will say, I forgot to mention that the hairpiece does switch just like a normal Goku hairpiece, and the scouter is removable. You can remove the scouter and put it on each of the faces, which is cool, because we know on some figures you couldn't do that. Like on the Nappa, you couldn't take the scouter off before. The scale just seems like way off. Like he's small. Like he's supposed to be bigger than Goku. In the movie, especially when he eats the fruit, he's bigger than Goku. He's supposed to be slightly smaller than Piccolo, about the same size as Piccolo, and he's not. And it's just really disappointing that the scale is off on this guy as well. But I'll tell you, man, like, the good things about this are the new shoulder design, like I said, is amazing. It comes with a pretty good spread of accessories. The face sculpts are awesome. That blast effect to me is like the star of the show. I love that blast effect. And man, like, the more I started to pose this guy around and mess around with him, and the more I got used to kind of moving him around, because like I said, the engineering it's a bit different on this one compared to some of the other SH Figuarts Dragon Ball figures. The more I got to messing around with it and posing it, the more I got kind of comfortable with it. And the more I saw it on my shelf, the more I was like, man, I love the way this figure looks. There's just so many things they could have done to make it worth that originally $70 price tag. And I feel like even on that P Bandai original release of $70, I don't think it's worth $70. I think they need to put it somewhere in that $50 to $65 range. Like that Super Saiyan 4 Goku was $65, and it is a superior figure to this one, in my opinion. But anyway, man, I'm gonna go ahead and give this guy a final grade of a 6.5, man. I'm not gonna lie, I had him ranked a little bit lower. I had him ranked at a 6, and it would have been a 7 if there was shading on this figure and some of the other issues that I talked about were rectified. It would have at least been a 7, 7.5, but I had to knock off like almost a whole 1.5 because it just seems like there's certain parts of this figure they phoned in, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the 6.5, man. But anyway, man, let me know what you guys think. If you don't have this figure, are you gonna be picking it up? If you do have this figure, what do you think about it? Drop it in the comments below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you throw on that notification bell so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, peace.